Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to my second vlog of what I'm calling the Cryptid series. And tonight we're going to talk about the legends of the Wendigo. Now, I know there may be some of you out there that are asking, what is a Wendigo? Well, the Wendigo is said to be an evil spirit that resides inside humans, or is a spirit that is able to possess humankind and make them monsters. But before we go into the actual legend of the Wendigo, I'd just like to state for those who are new to this vlog, my name is Brandon Smith, and I'm an author of thriller and fantasy. I'm also the author of Out of the Dark Woods, which can be purchased on Amazon if you have Kindle, or paperback on Amazon, and is also now sold at Barnes & Nobles. So, let's begin our story. So, the Wendigo. Once the Wendigo is able to possess the human, it causes insatiable hunger that leads to cannibalism, and also intense greed, and invokes murderous tendencies. So pretty much this cryptid dates back to the time of the first Algonquian tribes of Nova Scotia and parts of the Great Lakes around Canada and the US. It's said that the spirits of the Wendigo are brought on by fierce snowstorms that they would have during those times that would cause lack of survival, and the game that was out there would die off because of how bad the ice storms would get, and the Algonquian tribes would have to fend for themselves. So usually what would happen in their culture is people, however many, would become greedy and be like, well, get the thought of, well, maybe if I just ate my fellow man, then I'm going to be able to survive this winter, and I would need to hunt for game. Well, as that thought progresses, eventually an evil spirit come along, known as the Wendigo, and will possess the human and actually make them do it. So, it's said that the spirit of the Wendigos are brought on by fierce snowstorms that make travel and survival difficult when game is scarce. Characteristics of a Wendigo. So, this is after the Wendigo has possessed the body and has already changed the person, or made the full transformation. The skin turns cold and gray and shrivels, becoming taut around the bones, so your rib cage would be exposed and your spine would be exposed, like the bones in your spine would be protruding like this, and your eyes would become hollow, or you would no longer have eyes, and you could either take on the, let's say, impersonation of a stag, like they would take on a stag, a full-grown stag skull with antlers and everything, and put that on, or they would still just look like human, but their mouth would change and the eyes would be hollow and the skull would no longer look exactly the same. There would be no bottom jaw, just teeth and a long tongue. So, with that said, the Wendigo hunts its prey at the worst part of winter usually. So, once a human is transformed completely into a Wendigo, they gain the supernatural ability of like amazing speed and strength. So what they'll do is they'll stalk their victim forever, how long, and then when the time is right, they'll strike and take over the victim. Now, Wendigos don't always look like the characteristics I just described. The Wendigo can also still appear human before the change is taken over, and that human can still be a cannibal. So with that said, they'll have cannibal tendencies, but will have not transformed into the Wendigo yet. So I know a lot of you are wondering, well, that sounds absolutely terrifying. What could possibly kill a Wendigo? Well, in the native culture, they believe that their shamans were able to kill the Wendigo. And there's two different ways that they could kill the Wendigo. One being that the shaman is able to see inside the human ego. I think maybe not the right word, but they can tell if they were in the process of transforming into the Wendigo, or having those tendencies of wanting to eat somebody, or having intense greed, or thinking of murdering for abnormal purposes other than, simple wars against other tribes and such like that. So technically, to stop the Wendigo, you either have the shamans would either have to kill that person that they know was going to transform into the Wendigo before the transformation was complete, which, you know, many of us would be like, oh, that sounds a lot like murder or a reason to murder somebody. Well, there was a lot of stuff that happened back then too that didn't make sense. I know there's a story, I read a story somewhere that a shaman did get arrested during like the early 1900s because what their culture saw was him doing a great deed and fighting off the Wendigo. The U.S. saw, or whoever it was, I think it was in the United States, yeah. The U.S. saw them as murdering, just plain out murdering, going around murdering families, women, children, men. It didn't matter. Whoever they deemed as a Wendigo, they would kill. So they would either kill them as a human or they would wait for the transformation, which was usually not the best idea because, like I said, they have enhanced speed and enhanced human strength. So it's a bit more of a challenge than would just be to kill off a human. So they would have to kill the Wendigo in its true form. Now, the Wendigo. Some last bit tips about the Wendigo. The Wendigo will do what it can to survive. Even though it has an insatiable hunger to eat people, if it can catch you off guard and take you back to wherever its lair may be, inside of a cave or in the deepest part of the forest, it will do its best to keep you alive so it can continuously feed off you. So that means, like, you know, it may cut your legs off and eat your thighs down to your feet, or it may open you up and eat guts, but it'll do its best to keep you alive if it knows it's not going to come across more humans later on in full transformation. But, so, to end that note with, this vlog has been one of my favorites to do so far, even though it's my second one, because I actually love the Wendigo's story. I think it's amazing that they came up with something to pretty much describe famine and what humans will do to actually survive when it comes to extreme temperatures and weather and such like that. But so for the third video, I plan on talking about skinwalkers, which are kind of similar to the Wendigo series, but they're more of the southern region than the northern region. So stay tuned for my third vlog, and good night, everyone.